3 seconds and we are live. How are you, Jenny?
Good. How are you?
I'm not too bad. We're just chatting here, having a laugh with Jenny because she had a few audio issues. Um, but we got to sort it, and that's why it's important to, what was it you said? Test, learn, and fail. Isn't that right?
Yep,
That's
absolutely.
right.
You say it too.
And I do, and that's why we got to have these tech sessions before the live section to make sure. But hey, everyone, welcome to BuzzStart's episode 8 of I'm a Role Model. BuzzStart's mission is to change the status quo by upskilling and empowering 1 million women as digital entrepreneur leaders for the future. I'm Patrick Cutler, founder of BuzzStart, and I'm delighted to share with you all that I have a very special guest joining me today from, is it Kentucky?
It is Kentucky.
Midwest, yes. And it's Jeni Hauser. Welcome, Jeni.
Thank you.
Jeni is a big advocate for diversity, inclusion, entrepreneurship, and innovation as the building blocks for economic advantage, much like myself. So, Jeni, you're very, very welcome. So what I'm going to do, Jeni, is I'm going to give you your grandiose introduction. So you just have to kick back, put the feet up, relax, and chill out.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sound good.
Awesome. Right. Jeni was born in Seoul, Korea, adopted at 6 months and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio in the United States with her parents and her adopted sister. Jeni's parents loved her unconditionally and raised her to be a strong, independent woman. Sometimes it's weird when somebody's telling your story back, so just enjoy the process. She struggled to fit in at school and find her tribe. She was bullied through most of her primary education. Jeni would go on to attend college, dropped out, and went back to try again. She was young when her son was born, and at the same time, she made the decision to do better for herself and for her son. As a young single mother, she committed herself to go back to school and earn her bachelor's degree in business at Thomas More College through an accelerated program. She was extremely proud of herself and this amazing achievement, and rightly so. With her parents' support, minding her son, Jeni was able to work full-time, attend school full-time, work as a waitress at the weekends, and mind her son all at the same time. She would then go on to work as a pharmaceutical rep. Jeni met someone and she got married, and this shifted her entire mindset, thinking, and pathway. She thought life was now perfect. Everything was aligned and as it was meant to be. The textbook perfect life. Life continued as textbook for a few years, and then life does as life always does. It reared its ugliness, and her husband announced he wanted a divorce. This broke Jeni for some time, and many people, including some family members, would shame and question her. Jeni was feeling extremely isolated and lonely. You know what that feels like? When Jeni got married, she gave up her work and everything to care for her son, and the divorce had left her with nothing to her name. No credit, no savings, no checking account, no retirement account, not even a car to drive to the store. At that moment, she made a life-changing decision that she would write her own story and never rely on anyone again, and she promised herself that she would do whatever it takes and her journey would be a marathon and not sprints. Like all hardship in life, we often find our purpose, passion, and pathway at the end of the dark tunnel, and such Jeni began to take care of her mind and body better, which led to more security and self-confidence. She started a business in nutrition, followed by a business in real estate, leading nicely on to a consultancy business that unintendedly attracted women. Jeni began to work with community outreach programs and academic programs in entrepreneurship. She found a way for herself to survive and thrive after the traumatic experience of going through a divorce, thinking her life was over, and learning how to build her independence and future. As her businesses and life began to thrive and her son was growing up on the way to university, Jeni decided it was time for some Jeni me time, and so she invested in herself and her education. She applied worldwide and decided to attend Dublin's Treasure, which is Trinity College, the most highly ranked, in Jeni's words. This is where Jeni and Patrick would cross paths for the first time. During her academic year at Trinity, Jeni traveled to Oman to meet her partner. She completed her dissertation practically on the beach, and while she was there, she was able to ingrain herself in the entrepreneurship culture of Oman and the Middle East. Whilst networking and speaking with local entrepreneurs, she decided to open an office in Oman. While abroad, Jeni was able to grow as an individual, sell a business, start another business, and earn her master's in entrepreneurship. She learned that if you can shift your mindset to optimism, anything is possible. She loves working with women entrepreneurs and helping them to move forward. She connects with them where they are on their journey and helps them to solve problems. She's all about empowering women to design their own future. Jeni, how was that for an introduction?
That was amazing. And listening to you really makes me miss Ireland because of your accent.
Does it? Come back anytime.
I really miss Ireland. I miss Dublin.
Yeah.
And one thing I should note, because I had forgot to mention this, I do have a brother. I don't know why I didn't mention. I think because we'll get into this, but it's because I talked about my sister and I during our school years. But I do have a brother. I do love him.
That's good to know.
This is going to haunt me for some time.
I hope he's not watching. Hi.
Hi.
You're dead.
I know.
Right, let's get stuck in, Jenny. Let's hear your story. Let's share your story with the world, so we can help other women, empower them on their pathway and their purpose and their passion. Tell me about your upbringing and your relationship with your mom and how she helped design the amazing woman that you are today.
Yeah, so like you said in that amazing introduction, I was born in Seoul, Korea. I was adopted at 6 months old and raised in Cincinnati, which is right next to Kentucky as well. But I'm so grateful for my parents because they truly love me unconditionally, but more importantly, they raised me to be a strong, independent woman. But growing up, I didn't know that's what they were doing, especially with my mom. I felt like she was so hard on me. She just like always challenged me. She questioned me. I felt she was tough on me. And what I didn't realize till I got older, she was preparing me for a world where it is tough for a woman. And she was preparing me to be a woman in a society where women are marginalized. And what that means is she really instilled grit, determination, and perseverance, basically just teaching me to always work hard, but more importantly, never to give up. And I don't know if she knew she was doing this when she was raising me. So, Mom, if you're watching, that was for you.
Brilliant. Lovely, legend, nice one.
Yeah.
What you mentioned it there, but why is it important for moms, dads, teachers, and guardians today to instill the principles of grit, determination, and perseverance in their daughters?
Yeah, so from my experience, those lessons that my mom taught me prepare me to be an adult, an entrepreneur, and more importantly, a minority businesswoman. Because, Patrick, we both know it's hard to be an entrepreneur. A lot of people, they question you. They say no. You get her no all the time. And you have to have that inner spark and that inner determination to know that what you're doing is your purpose and you're making a difference. But I think it's really important because when you face adversity and challenges, you need that inner strength to really pull through.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's massively self-belief, isn't it? And you need that strength to pull yourself out of the hole every single time. I love it. Absolutely. You talk about your experiences as a child, including bullying, made you question who you are and where you're from, and you allowed your classmates to really affect your self-worth and confidence because you were young. Can you tell me more about that time and the lessons that you learned for your later adult life?
Yeah, so this was specifically when I brought up my sister and not my brother. But yeah, during my younger years, me and my sister, she was adopted from Korea as well. We're the only minorities in our school from our entire primary education. And I struggled so much in school. I remember crying and hiding to fit in, to find my own tribe and my own friends.
Yeah.
But I was bullied through my whole entire primary education, all the way up to my senior year of high school. Right. Those experiences made me question who I was, where I came from, and I allowed that behavior of my classmates to question my own self-worth. But as I got older, I realized that I can create my own story and my own identity. What I learned was it's not worth the time to allow those external voices to validate my self-worth, and really that took time to learn because it takes work and practice to do that, especially when we live in this world of social media and TikTok and Instagram and this formation of clicks.
Yeah, I agree. agree so much. It's very hard times now as well with social media. A lot of image kind of thing portrayed
Yeah.
through social media, and it's a massive, massive problem, I feel. But as a single mom, you've achieved it all and more. You had your parents' support, but you worked full time. You minded your son. You attended school full time. You worked as a waitress at the weekend. You had no Jenny time. Absolutely incredible, Jenny. What kept you going? What was the dream, the spark, the drive that kept you moving forward?
So yeah, like we just talked about, I did attend college. I dropped out of college. I did try to go back again, and then I dropped out again. Had my son at a young age during that time, and really after I had my son, I decided that I wanted to do better for myself. I really, truly this time wanted to commit myself. Went back to school. I earned my bachelor's degree in Kentucky at Thomas More College through an accelerated program, and all of that. I'm so proud of myself for doing that. But I did have my parents' support. I'm grateful for them. They helped with my son. They watched him while I worked, went to school or waitress. And I even had student loans after all of that. I'm thinking back on it. I'm like, wow, I worked so much, but yet I still had student loans. But even though my parents helped watching him, it wasn't easy at all. I can say this now with a smile because I've gotten through it, but it was extremely difficult. But one goal that kept me going was I really wanted to be a pharmaceutical rep. And the reason why that was a goal is I met a big pharma manager while I was working on my other job, and instantly recognized that that career could allow me to support myself, my son, and my financial future. But more importantly, it was a career that I knew I could manage and balance the time and raise my son as a single mom.
Brilliant. Yeah, time management's a big thing, isn't it? You got married, and it's amazing how life can throw a curveball, and in an instant, your entire thinking process will change. You can change as a person. Your values, your perceptions of everything around you externally can change. Your entire ideology and human being can change also. You described the textbook perfect life in your bio. Is there such a thing? And what can we teach young women about this mindset?
I could go on all day
Yeah,
about this one subject, but I eventually met someone, I got married, and my mindset shifted, like I wrote to you. But what I thought was I had that perfect textbook life. I got married. My son had a mom, a dad. He had dogs. We had a house. We had all these things to click off the list. Click all those boxes, and then I decided we thought the best thing was for me to give up my dream pharma sales job, and I started working as a stay-at-home mom, and then some for the family businesses. It seemed perfect at the time when I was living it. The biggest reward though was having so much time back with my son while he was still young, because I had to sacrifice so much time while I was doing everything else. But what I would say is there is no perfect textbook checklist life. There's none of that. The trouble with that is it's society, it's friends, it's family that set those expectations, and they are the ones that are making those boxes for you. And what I would say is that let your life evolve, because change happens. Your expectations of your life change. And it's society that creates those, I call them the shoulds of the perfect life.
Yeah. Great answer. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I could talk about it all day as well. There's so many societal pressures and things that are created that make us believe that this is the reality and this is the only way, this is the only pathway through life. And unfortunately, much of human nature and people follow the same pathway. Because they fall into comfort. Your brain works in that way. If you're in comfort, then you're not under threat. It goes right back millions of years of evolution. So you don't push yourself outside your boundaries, and therefore you lose out on opportunity. And only a minority of people worldwide actually push themselves, have the resilience and the strength to do that. And I think a lot more people we should be training and teaching younger people to dig into those resources at a very young age to get beyond those barriers, so that as they grow older, it becomes easier and more accustomed to them and their pathway. And I think that's a big thing as well. Your life was, as you say, picture perfect for a few years, but then you threw a curveball from the other end of the spectrum. Your husband decided he wanted a divorce. Can you tell me about this time of your life, what and how you were feeling, and how it really helped to shape and form the amazing person and woman that you are today?
Yeah, I really thought life was good, and that experience did change the course of my life. But back then, during it, what I was feeling was I was crying a lot. I was scared. I grieved, and I was really confused because it really was a curveball. That process was so difficult and lonely. I felt so alone, and the other thing is I wouldn't tell anyone because when I was going through it, I didn't think anyone else in the world had ever gone through a divorce.
Yeah.
Additionally, the other reason why I felt like that is a lot of my friends and even family members, they shamed me and they questioned me, which made me feel even more alone. But what I realized is I needed to be alone. I needed to be alone to redefine my life on my terms.
Yeah.
And really the universe gave me a gift that was so painful in the beginning, but so I could grow and really find myself. So thinking back on it and even fast forwarding till today, what I say is I found a true way to survive, but also thrive after that experience.
Yeah.
From thinking that my life is completely over because I thought it was picture perfect, to learning how to build my own independence in my own future, like I said before, on my own terms.
Yeah.
But now my relationships are so much stronger because I took that time to find out who I am and to know what my values are and to be true to myself. So having that time alone allowed me to reflect and redefine myself. And now what I like to refer to that time as like I'm my own personal business model that was like evolving and growing.
Yeah, of course.
And I think we all have those times. It may not be through a divorce. It could be through something else. But I think we all have those moments. It's just how are we recognizing those moments and reframing what we can do with it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. We all go through struggles in life, some more than others. But at the end of the day, it's comes down to the strength of the person as well and how much they can deal with it. You know, somebody's small problem could be massive in their head compared to somebody's massive problem could be a lot lesser than what it looks like to somebody else. And it comes down to our makeup, doesn't it, and our experiences and everything else as well, and how we deal with problems and issues. And I think life is full of problems, and I think I think problems are good. I think they're an opportunity for us to grow and find our way in life and be better and everything else. So I think it's part and parcel of the journey. It's meant to be that way. Not essentially divorce or, but I think we're supposed to struggle in life to really find the golden nuggets, to find ourselves and really find who we are and our passions and our purpose and our pathways all in that kind of mess of life. And it's up to you to figure it out in your journey or not. That's my perception anyway of it, but everyone has their own. As if things weren't bad enough, Jeni, you had no credit, no savings, no checking or retirement accounts, you had no car, you were living in a tent. I made up the last part. Our minds are super powerful on both ends of the happiness spectrum, and it can be extremely difficult to claw your way out of a big dark hole, right? So what 3 steps did you take to pull your mind, body, and soul out of that big dark hole, beginning with 1, your mindset?
Yeah, you say 3 things, but there are so many. But there definitely were some hurdles. I mean, just like before, I can talk about that experience right now because I'm on the other side of it. But I didn't know what to do, and I was out of the labor market for years. So additionally, since I was working as a stay-at-home mom, I didn't have any of those things. I didn't have credit. I didn't have savings or retirement, any of those things. But like I said earlier, during that grieving process, I also decided that no one would ever have that much power over my freedom, my independence, or my future ever again. I just decided one day, I remember waking up and I'm like, this is how I'm going to be for the rest of my life. But I knew the only way to do that, this is the hard part, was to shift my mindset. And what I did was I said, I'm just going to be the entrepreneur of my own life and have that entrepreneurial mindset.
Mm.
But again, what that meant was more work to do. And it meant that I had to find my own passion for building something of my own. I had to have something of my own that was all mine. So I knew no one could take it away.
Yeah, interesting.
That meant I had to commit myself. And what that did for motivation was anything that got in my way, I was motivated to do it by committing to myself to have something of my own. But what I promised myself is that it would be a journey. And like you said in the intro, a marathon, not a sprint. That made me more agile and open to all the possibilities in the world. But that was scary and really exciting at the same time, because it was going to be something new and something I did. But through all of that, part of that mindset shift was I found out a new passion was to educate as many women and people as possible about this entrepreneurial mindset that I found and entrepreneurship. So hopefully no one else could ever go through what I did ever again.
Yeah, brilliant. I love it. Yeah. I think a lot of entrepreneurs probably have similar stories. I found that myself, through the years of working and speaking to entrepreneurs. We're all very similar. We have different stories, but ultimately a lot of us have the same reasons for being and doing what we're doing. And it comes back to helping people largely. And then that, if you dig deeper, there's a story behind that, a backstory. And ultimately we're all the same, made of the same cloth. You began to take care of your mind, which is so important. Even today, the stigma around mental health is outrageous, and I feel it's getting worse personally rather than better. Please share what exactly you did to shift your mindset, and what were the positive outcomes, internal and external?
So the first thing I did was I took stock of my own health, and taking stock of it meant that I could figure out what I was doing and then what I needed to start or stop doing as well. And what that made me do is put more effort into a holistic mindset of my health. So I started doing things like weight training, connecting with the outdoors, focusing on my mental health, like you were talking about before. I do think it's getting worse as well. But ensuring that I had the most supportive inner circle people in my life. And this ended up giving me more confidence, security, and self-worth, but from the inside out. You know, when I talk about having the most supportive inner circle of people, that meant I had just a few people in my circle, but they were good quality people that really, it was mutually beneficial, and we could connect on a deeper level rather than having a lot of friends.
Yeah, love it. Yeah, it's a very interesting point as well. There's a saying, isn't there, that you should be able to count the absolute most quality best friends in one hand. And I really believe that. I think a lot of people look out here for external kind of, what's the word, gratification, not gratification, but about themselves, and they tell them how great they are and all of this stuff. When inside, that's where you need to be going. You need to be going inside your own head and actually believing in yourself, and not relying on all of this kind of noise outside telling you how great you are. And that's where you truly find your greatness and your way in life, I think. And
we talked about that too with entrepreneurship, having a good foundation of inner perseverance and determination, and to know when, so many people are telling you no, or you shouldn't do this, you're on your own path.
Yeah, we'll come to that. You started a personal training and nutrition business, followed by a real estate business, leading nicely onto your consultancy business, which organically grew and unintendedly attracted women. Why do you think that was, and what realizations did you experience from taking the leap to set up your own businesses?
Yes, so since I fell in love with my own health journey, I started my own personal training and coaching business. And then once I was looking for my own facility, my own space for that business, and I just fell in love with real estate. So started the real estate business that included commercial real estate. So this is what organically grew into a consulting business with small businesses, though. I believe heavily in small businesses. I know we'll get to that later, but these were businesses that were looking to start, grow, or scale into brick and mortars. And when I say organically, I know that term is used a lot, but here what I mean is I believe my story of overcoming my challenges and my energy after those challenges resonated with women, whether they were single, married, or divorced or not. Just my energy resonated with them. And what I realized by creating my own business, I was giving back to a community of women where we ended up building camaraderie and connections and networks. And then during this time, I was empowering them to build their own empire. So like I just said, it was women who were single, they were married, they were engaged, divorced, just all amazing women that could relate to this entrepreneurial mindset that I talk a lot about. And then we just naturally work together to uplift each other.
Brilliant. Love it. Yeah, that's magic. When that magic happens, it's a very exciting thing, isn't it? That energy have come together with people who are very aligned with what you're trying to achieve and stuff, and you can just see that magic. You can see the change in them. You can see their whole kind of aura just lightens up and brightens up, and their whole life trajectory changes. And that's what I'm all about. And that's what we'll talk about talent, the program later, and that's what I'm trying to achieve with that. But I think it's so amazing when you can do that and you can see that happen in real life. I think it's so powerful. I believe, and that's coming on nicely, I believe your backstory is a powerful attribute for your law of attraction and how your journey now allows you to empower other women to build their own empire. Do you have any one highlight story of helping a woman that you're extremely proud of?
Yeah. So I had a personal training client, and naturally what happens is you build a bond with them. But she started to confide in me about how unhappy she was in her marriage. And she's like, I know you've gone through it. Here's what I could do. I think these are my options. And she just didn't really see that. She couldn't figure out what she wanted. She's like, I'm just unhappy. And what she was doing was blaming everything on him. And her health journey success, and I say health because she just wasn't losing weight. We trained many things. I was a coach to her. It helped her gain inner confidence and mental, emotional muscle. And with my help, she decided to enterprise her talent for art. And she ended up launching a digital creative agency. So what I got to do during the training time as well was I consulted with her to build a sustainable model, but one that she could profit from her passion. And this is what makes me come alive. I am truly passionate about, the problem is most creatives either are not taught how to monetize their talents, or they just don't see, the way they could do that. And this is something that we do a lot at my business is we teach people how to monetize their passions. And that's why I stressed earlier is small businesses. I work with small businesses. For some reason, Patrick, and I'm sure you hear this a lot because you're doing something that you're passionate about, is in society, for some reason, if we signal that we're passionate about our work, we're expected to give it away for free. Yeah. And I don't know where that came from, but I know the expectation is there. But back to her, she later realized that it wasn't him or the marriage making her unhappy. It's that she needed to find this way to reinvent herself, her own independent self. Yeah. And I'm still in contact with her. I'm happy to say they are happily married, and she's happier than ever, and her business is thriving still.
Yeah, she sounds like she was a bit lost just in life, a bit unhappy herself, and she just needed a little bit of help, a little tweak the switch is what I like to say. You get inside somebody's head, you can literally, move around and twiddle with a few things, and you find the switch, you tweak it, and off they go again. And it's so true. I think it's so true. I've seen it so many times with especially young girls that I've helped in college and apprenticeships and stuff as well. They're really struggling with their mental health and all sorts of stuff. They would open up to me because they could confide and trust in me, and then I would just say, get in there, do a few tweaks, get them doing some exercises that I knew would get them to figure out where they need to be, and then they find it and away they go. And it's just magic to see that happen, you know.
Yeah. I think everyone at some point in their life, like you said earlier, no matter how big or small, we all need someone that is sort of our GPS to kind of help us get back on the track. I think we always have that inside of us. We just can't, we can't come on the outside and say, oh, this is where, you know, you could be going with all this energy.
Yeah. Your true north, as they call it. Brilliant. So I've built my mission on the premise of I begin with the individual and I help them to hack their mindset, discover their passion, map their pathway, and then leverage their purpose.
What we were just talking about.
I believe our future world is one of social cause and entrepreneurship. It's really important. Tell me why social cause, community, women leaders, innovation, and entrepreneurship are the future in your own words.
Yeah, this is something definitely you and I share similarities with. As I was growing my consultancy business, I'll use the word again, organically working with community outreach programs, nonprofit social causes, and even academic programs in entrepreneurship, specifically in education. And I believe this is important in the future because growing entrepreneurship awareness in communities, sharing and teaching entrepreneurship is a catalyst to economic development. And I think people that are involved in social causes, social enterprise, or even community-driven initiatives, they have these other bigger goals of purpose over profit. And I think that's naturally what grows the community and what grows our future.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. In the long run, 90% of startup businesses fail. Like that's insane. 90%.
It's insane.
You bootstrapped all of your businesses. I'm attempting to do the same, and it's damn bloody hard, but it's possible, and you've proven that, and I'm proving it myself. You speak of marathons rather than heavily invested sprints. Can you share your thoughts and beliefs on the future of entrepreneurship and how we can improve the success rate to maybe 50%?
I feel like we could go on and on about this all day as well, but I'll give a short answer. I kind of touched on it in the last question, but I do believe that entrepreneurship and small businesses are the backbone of well-being in a society and for economic freedom. Yeah. But with access to resources, entrepreneurship can enhance these things and enhance independence and financial freedom. Yeah. But you and I talked about this before. I'm not talking about the unicorns because I believe in our industry, Patrick, a lot of people, even funders, investors, people believe in the unicorns. They just they're pushing for the unicorns. Yeah. And that brings me back to your question about marathons and the journey. And my business, we focus on small business owners. We want entrepreneurship accessible to all, but we want to be on the journey with them. Yeah. So we offer services to break down these barriers so they can bootstrap their business as well, just like we did. But bootstrapping could take some time, like you mentioned, and it's a journey. But the other part of that is having enterprise my passions. It was easier for me to see that long-term journey and that long-term gain. I built my business model more around sustainability and growth rather than quick turnaround, quick sprints. And then the important part of that, though, is keeping the mindset that at any time, anything could change. It could shake up that model. So again, just like my health, me constantly taking stock and innovating where necessary are very valuable business practices that we all need to practice as well. But back to your question too, is I think a lot of business owners, they focus, and startups, they focus on working in the business rather than on the business. And I say this a lot, actually. I truly believe it. And this is why we are passionate about business model innovation. And that goes back to the beginning of my story, where I was kind of working in that life and working in the life when I was in school, rather than having this outside perspective or other lens on working on my life.
Brilliant. Great answer. I think you made a very good point about sustainability of business, in that the model is built on investment, unicorns, making as much return for investors, for VCs, venture capitalists, for angel investors, and anyone else that's involved and can make a quick buck. And the problem with that is that often these young startup founders, they don't acquire the real graft in the trenches knowledge and wisdom that somebody that spends years and years on their own, really losing and learning and failing and learning and all of that hardship over many, many years. You can't learn that in a year when somebody pumps 10 million into your company. And the reason I'm saying this is, if you go off a cliff, like you just said, that can happen at any moment, you have not acquired the wisdom, the strength, the makeup to go again, unless you get investment again, because you haven't learned that stuff. And I think that's so important, is that you learn from those massive mistakes or small mistakes or whatever they are. And by bootstrapping over many, many years, you get to learn all this stuff. You might not make the millions, but that's not why you're in it in the first place. You're in it for your purpose, for your passion. If the money comes, great, but that's not why you started. So I think that's the difference. And I think talking about small businesses, I think community-wise in the future is going to be a huge thing. And there should be a lot more collective and collaboration of small businesses around social cause and things within the local community, and getting them involved in that and helping more people. I think there's a big opportunity there to do that. And I know there are people doing it around the world, but I think there can be a lot more done,
I agree.
The best learning in life, in my opinion, is taking action, getting outside of your comfort zone, testing, failing, and learning. Just like I've just said, right?
Rinse and repeat,
The theoretical, hypothetical learning is obviously important. We get a lot of it in the education system, but I think we've got the balance wrong. We've got it tipped the wrong way around. You launched, grew, bought, and sold many businesses with great success. Why did you choose to go back and do a master's in entrepreneurship?
So I agree with everything you just said. I want to add one thing to that question is, I also failed a lot. I faced so many challenges, and in this, what we just talked about, having this grit and this passion and this perseverance, I sometimes think I was born with it, but I cannot deny that there are times where it takes work, where something happens and you do need to kind of take a step back and take stock of what's going on and make a pivot or a drift or do something. But this goes back to what you just asked about, the test, learning, and this balance of it all. And like I just said, we all fall victim to it at some point. It's how you, I think you said earlier, how you claw your way out of the trench. But I think a lot of people get the testing and the failing. I do think the failing is starting to get a better reputation right now. Many people are testing, they're failing, but they're forgetting about the learning process. And that's where the grit and the perseverance needs to be foundational characteristics if you're in this industry, especially in entrepreneurship. But back to your question is, just as my businesses were thriving, I was really doing well after all of those lessons. I created an opportunity to take a year off. And Patrick, after 14 years of graduating from my bachelor's degree, and I say 14 years because I had to write back to get references. I did go back for my master's degree. My son, he entered his sophomore year of university, and I just decided, I'm like, it's time for me. I want to do this. But I was really yearning for something more to build my businesses and my brand. So I decided to invest in my education. And I already had that experience and that entrepreneurship intuition. I just decided to seek that formal education around entrepreneurship. I did a ton of researching. I have a huge spreadsheet of everything I did for every single graduate program in entrepreneurship. And I did, and these are my words. I went to the highly ranked Trinity College Dublin, but the other words I use a lot, and I heard it on campus during my tour, is my school is ancient and prestigious. So I am so proud of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful place, isn't it?
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll talk about it later about the Facebook thing.
Yeah.
I love Dublin as well. Like I live there, and I will talk about it more. But yeah, I didn't have a great experience in Dublin because of my situation at the time. But and that's it. Everything's about perspective, and it's internal. It's not external. But we make it external. We don't make it internal. We need to learn how to do that and realize that your perception of anything is coming from in here. It's not what's happening out there. It's what your thoughts are, and you need to be able to fix that. So naysayers were whispering in your ear saying, Jeni, don't do it. Jeni, you're crazy. What about your son, Jeni? More, I'm sure. Human beings tend to be easily swayed by the noise and the whispers, and therefore they never end up living out their dreams. How did you overcome those whispers, and what kind of makeup and mindset do people need to silence their critics?
Yeah, I love how you said they whispered. I wish that's what I could confirm they were doing. Was whispering. But I don't know how many people know this, but Dublin would be the first place I've ever lived outside of my hometown of Cincinnati. It would be the only place I've ever lived outside of my home. So was I scared or nervous? I wasn't. I was not scared or nervous. I was so excited that I was accepted in January. I was so excited that I went to visit Dublin in March for vacation, just so I could see everything and meet everyone that I was going to see in my program on the campus. But many people question me so much. I got so much, and I still get it today. Like, is your son okay because you left him for a year? I'm like, he is an adult.
Oh man, seriously.
But yeah, those whispers started coming back of those shoulds, and it was hard sometimes because I'm like, there were a couple times where I'm like, I don't know, is this checklist coming back into my life? But going back to my parents, especially my mom, she taught me to drown out that noise and just go for it. I believed in myself, and I like to say I took a pivot in my own life, and I just went for it so I can invest in myself. And one thing I wanted to say when you're talking about different perspectives, one thing I love about this community you've created is when it's a community like this of like-minded people, it's safe to share perspectives because I think you learn so much from them.
Yeah.
So thank you for building this community.
Thank you for thanking me.
That's what I miss about Ireland, that welcoming and thankful and grateful. I miss the people of Ireland so much.
Yeah, we're good crack.
Good crack.
Because,
so true.
Brilliant. Love it. It's lovely. It's lovely for you to say that as well. I mean, absolutely, Jeni. Community is everything. But the whispers, the noise, the critics, that's something I learned years and years ago to shut out. I come from a small town, small community, Ireland's a small town mentality. So it's a very small community, and anywhere in Ireland is a very small community. Everybody knows your business, or they'll find out your business, or they'll make up your business if they don't know your business. So either way, they know your business.
But how did you overcome that?
I overcome it by kind of deep down in myself. Like, first of all, I was very swayed by out here. And everything, and critics and noise and all of that. It took me years of working on myself to go internal and stop being swayed by external and start to realize that it's actually internal, and that's where the magic happens, and that's where and it was in that process of learning then that you know what, I now know myself, I know my strengths, I know my passion, my purpose, my pathway, I know what I can achieve, I have confidence that's growing. you know, self-belief. This took a long time, by the way. It didn't happen overnight. It took
Me too.
10 plus years of
Yeah.
work. But every day now I get more confident. I'm literally at the stage now where my brain is like, you know what, I can do anything. I'm not afraid. I have anxiety all the time. Like last week? I had 3 really bad days in a row. And then you start questioning everything and question yourself. But then you get back in the horse and you know, and you go again, and then you start
Yeah.
on the opposite spectrum. You're like, because you get a little email or you'll get a little message from someone that just kind of gets you back on track to, you know, all of that work. Your brain just takes over and starts this
Yeah.
negative thing. It's crazy how it just takes control. And all you've done all this 15 years of work and this amazing stuff, and
Yeah.
then in one moment your brain can just go, no, you can't do this. You know, just like that, and then
Yeah.
somebody will send you a message or an email or something that you've been waiting 2 or 3 days for, and boom, you're back on track again. And it's
Yeah.
just crazy. It's like this all the time. And most people aren't made up for this stuff. You know,
Yeah.
it's not. But as I was saying, like I lived in Dublin during the
Yeah.
during the Celtic Tiger, which were rough times, probably the most miserable time of my life. And you've had quite the opposite
Yeah.
experience, and you loved your time. I love Dublin, by the way. It says I'm not in Dublin. It's how we met, and I'm glad we did. We met at the Facebook. We it was our biggest
Hmm.
workshop that we'd ever done. In like we took on I took on a massive I took on a massive risk and a massive job. I had no resource, no money, no people around me, nothing. And I had Facebook coming to me going, well, I went to them and I said, I can do this. And then they were like, can you?
Hmm.
So I had to put a proposal in and all of this and blah, blah, blah. They proved that I could do it. And, you know, even then they were going to take me on, but they let me do it. And anyway, I went on to become the leading training company, or one of the top in the entire of Europe, and just smashing the targets. In 7 months, we trained over 4,000 people across 65 workshops, which is insane when it's literally one person running the whole thing
Yeah.
for the money.
It's amazing.
So anyone out there that thinks that you can't do anything, you know, trust me, you can do anything if you put your mind and your back to it. But as I said, we upskilled 354 entrepreneurs, future entrepreneurs like yourself that day, which was it was
I
amazing. The
think
energy.
we
um,
I
Go
think
on.
we actually crashed the internet in that room.
Yeah, it was it was crazy. Like, see at the start, like when I arrived, nobody had a clue what in it. No, we couldn't find the girl. I can't remember her name that was running it. Nobody knew what was
Yeah.
happening. There wasn't even a desk set up for registration. This is like
Yeah.
the biggest event we've ever, like 355 people have to be registered. We've got an hour to
Yeah.
do it. In fact, we had about 40 minutes at that stage, and I was getting really anxious, you know. And then they
It
just
was
started
amazing.
coming in their droves,
Yeah.
and it was like checking them in, and they were just kept coming and coming, and it was crazy. And
Yeah.
I didn't get to see them because I was at the desk, and then when I went in and I looked around, it was just incredible. You had this massive lecture theater with
Yeah.
356, 57 people in it. And it was just insane. It's a very memorable moment for me,
Yeah.
and an achievement that just takes, you know, top level, working for Facebook on behalf of Facebook, you know, training
Yeah.
at, as you say, the highest ranked, or one of the highest ranked entrepreneurial colleges in Europe, if not the world. You know, think about that. Like, we're coming in there and we're training you guys who are the
Hmm.
future entrepreneurs of the world. I mean, the intimidation, the energy, you know, but I think it was magic, and Dan himself did an amazing job. Um, but how important because you met a lot of people through that, through your
Hmm.
masters, for your course. I'm sure you've networked a lot. How important is networking, and more importantly, those solid, authentic relationships?
So one thing I want to say about that day during your workshop was it really was the way you described, magical. The energy was amazing.
Yeah,
And with all of those students, which I'd like to add, it wasn't only entrepreneurship students. It was a ton of students from many different studies, but I say we crashed the internet, but I don't know if we did it or not, but it was a huge crowd. But what you did that was magical and so amazing is you knew how to engage with the audience, and they engaged back with you. So even having that enormous group and I wish we had a picture of that hall, but it's a huge room. And you were able to pick out people even from the way back, you know, in that upper level to engage. And there were no other microphones, and they would scream out their engagement just so they could be involved. And it really was magical. I don't know any other word to describe that, but I still have my certificate.
Brilliant. It takes years of practice doing that stuff. Like I've spent years now on stages, training hundreds, thousands of people. And I did it because largely to get over my anxiety was one of the main reasons that I did it. The second was to really understand people better and how they interact and how they engage. And I'm that person younger that was sitting in an audience, absolutely terrified, petrified that anyone would pick on me or ask me a question or bring any attention to me whatsoever. I was the same in school. I was the same in church. I was the same throughout most of my life. I was terrified walking down the street, terrified in case anyone would pick me out for anything. So I went on a journey of how can I actually overcome this thing that's holding me back so much in my life, in my head. And the way that I found to do that was to get on the most frightening, terrifying space that I could possibly find to get rid of this awful thing that was destroying my life. And that was standing on a stage in front of people and building numbers and building and building. I did an event in London over 3 days. I was the lead trainer for them. Me and another girl were chosen. There was about 20 staff from Google, but me and her were the lead trainers. And it was just workshop after workshop. We trained over 3,000 people.
Wow.
2 to 3 days between the two of us as well. And that was insane, you know. But the reason I'm saying that is I learned so much from, based on what you're saying, how to interact with people, how to engage with them, understanding the deep psyche of people and their fears and their inhibitions and their, you know, anxieties and all of that stuff. And they're sitting there in an audience and some of them are terrified and there's ways and means you can engage with those people and really pull out and make them feel part of that community and really build that energy. And that's what you were seeing. That's what you're feeling in that kind of room, you know. Tell me about.
So back to your question.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
It's all right.
But you know, we talked about this before about what networking is, but it allowed me just networking with you, and sometimes I don't like to use that word, but connecting and networking allowed me to hear more about Dublin's challenges and from different lenses and perspectives. And like we just said, there's a ton of benefit to hearing different perspectives. So networking does give you that. And what it did for me in my cohort was I got to learn so much about entrepreneurship from many different lenses from across the world. And back to Dublin, Dublin, like many economies years ago, they had difficult times, but they were specific about using entrepreneurship to revive the economy. And I love Ireland's commitment to entrepreneurship and innovation as a catalyst to economic growth. And to me, it's like we had the same passion in common from the get-go. It's like we both kind of struggled at some point and we had this parallel story, and entrepreneurship, I like to say, like, saved us. And that was another reason why I had to pick Dublin and be there. I wanted to learn from that and meet as many people there like you that went through it, that could tell me these stories and how Dublin and Ireland, I'm going to use your words again, clawed their way out. But yeah, I went back to school, and the thing that I committed myself to doing was I was going to make the most out of my time networking and connecting, but with like-minded people. And technically, I could say I only had a year to do it, but I'm still building those bonds and connections now. And now I've made connections all around the world. I know about entrepreneurship on a global level, and I've made really great friends along the way. But networking, and I tell my son this all the time, like, networking is so important as well. And because you can't do it alone all the time. We talked about this earlier, Patrick, where you kind of need someone who's going to be in there in your corner, like tap you on the shoulder. You know, you have to form these coalitions and build community. But the most important part is you have to pay it forward as well. You can't always be the one receiving those little tips on the shoulder. You have to be able to give it back as well. Yeah. And that's why I love this series that you're doing, so we can build this community together.
Yeah.
And it's already like-minded people. They're seeing the content, they're knowing what you're doing, you're putting your passion out there. We all want to be part of it.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it. Yeah. I mean, we're very early days in this, and it's exciting because, yeah, so far, like, every story's been unique. It's been different. It's, every woman's had their different challenges, but essentially we're all human, and we're all here trying to do the same thing and trying to achieve the same things. Our best purpose and passion and pathway, and help others largely is one of the main themes, really.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting to see this happen and grow this. And, I hope, like, that this talent, it will happen. It's just when, but hopefully in the next month or two, it'll take off, will launch, and it'll be 50 women in the first cohort. And that's where I really want to bring this community, this network to life. That's where there now we have 50 women that we can actually help directly really change their lives and set them on the right pathway and trajectory in their life. And that's what I'm really passionate about. And in that process, I'll get to offload all of my knowledge and experience in a practical learning way so that they can take that with them wherever they go as well. So not only will they get all that, they'll get the community, the networks, and everything else in the ongoing support.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting. And then it's the work that we can leverage from them as well into social community, entrepreneurship, social cause, all of those kind of things. As you seen when I showed you my program, how it's all built in and all my ideas of how that's going to work and everything. I think there's a lot of magic to come. And I'm really excited about it. Tell me about Oman, how you came to be there and your general story.
I love how you said that I wrote my dissertation on the beach.
I made that up.
It's actually true, but I'll give you that. But yeah, during my academic career or year in Dublin, COVID hit, of course, and as soon as classes went online, I decided to travel to Oman. It seemed like the best place to be. My partner was there, my family, they were there, and it was the safest place to travel to. I did write my dissertation next to the beach because we were social distancing. And I finished my degree requirements there as well. Like I said, I had some classes that went online. But one of the biggest benefits outside of it being the most beautiful place next to Dublin on earth is that I felt bad saying that. I was able to really ingrain myself in the entrepreneurship culture in Oman and in the Middle East. The people there are the most welcoming, most friendly people, and they took me in as well. So even while there, we were there for 7 or 8 months. I was lucky enough to speak about my entrepreneurship journey to Omani locals, and it felt like I was able to contribute to make a difference in their new economy. And I connected with several entrepreneurs there, and it was so great just being there. Being able to learn about the ecosystem there and the great opportunities of entrepreneurship there, and even traditions of entrepreneurship. I want to get back to the beach for a minute. Where I was living, it was in a fisherman village. So it was waking up to just generations and traditions of entrepreneurship. It was just magical, to use your word again. But yeah, you said in the beginning, since I was there and I fell in love with the entrepreneurship culture there, I opened an office in Oman. But the most amazing part about Oman is the huge opportunity for women in entrepreneurship there. They already have a strong advocacy and empowerment from the Sultanate to increase this already established ecosystem of women in entrepreneurship there. It is like, again, so magical, and the energy around it's truly addicting.
Yeah, amazing. There's a couple of things. First thing is that this role model series and community, as you called it, I'm building, has given me some great ideas for places to visit in the future.
You would love it. You would truly love it there. Right. Everyone needs to put it at the
Nice one.
top of their list.
Nice one. So I'll be there.
Hmm.
And the second thing is, something I've been thinking about too for quite a while, and I'd love to achieve is that globalization of what I'm
Yeah,
doing, being allowed to train these women, but give them the skill sets to be employable
yeah,
anywhere in the world. And not
yeah,
that they have to move there, but they're employable from where they are. There are
yeah.
people, women living in disadvantaged, marginalized places, or just their own circumstances. They could be in a first
Hmm.
world country, but they're still disadvantaged and marginalized. And by giving
Yeah,
them the opportunity that they weren't afforded for whatever reasons in their life, and being able to upskill them and give them the skills that they could then actually find employable, a job through the internet, and not have to leave their home. I think
yeah,
that's really, really powerful, and that's something
yeah.
that I really want to figure out, and do more of. Um, what self discovery and learnings have you had due to your experiences from being a young, single, struggling mom to being happily married, living the perfect life, to divorce chaos, all the pain and the hurt, and then retracting inside yourself for a bit of reflection to become this incredible, strong, successful, and amazing woman that you are today, living your own story that you wrote the perfect life. So,
I've learned so many things. Um, the biggest thing is, and it's something that helps me on a daily basis, and we talked about this earlier, is if you can shift your mindset and have just a little bit of an optimistic view on anything, then anything is possible. We were talking about this the other day, is you and I are choosing to see the good and the optimism in COVID.
yeah.
We're trying to wake up every day and see the positives. And I don't know if we admitted this to each other. I know I've said it. It does take work sometimes. You have to shift your mindset to see that at times. But during those times in my life, I do remember thinking, I can I can decide to stay in this hole and lay in bed all day and not get up, or I can just get up and start building my future just one little thing at a time, just get a start at it.
Yeah.
And then take this experience to start defining a new future for me rather than letting that moment of a traumatic experience define me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So I remember telling myself so many times, and I say this often, is don't try to not spend time thinking what you can't do, but spend time thinking on what you can do. And it really does help me. Sometimes I can say it once, sometimes I had to say it 3 times, but it helps. And what I love about my work now is I help move entrepreneurs and people, because I think there's such a thing as aspiring entrepreneur and existing entrepreneurs. And I meet all of them and connect with them where they are, and then where they are in the process, and then help them solve whatever problems going forward. The thing that I've learned is, to me, it's about empowering yourself. And in my line of business, it's about people creating their own future. And that's one thing I think you and I talked about, is we truly believe that's what entrepreneurship is too. And I will say it every day that entrepreneurship, I think, saved my life. And it's not just about opening a business, it's having that entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah.
I got so excited, I lost my earbud.
Go get it. Go get it. I'll hold the show here. Brilliant. New class. I love it. Well, this is what it's all about, though. We're natural. We're not faking and making stuff up here. It's all natural.
No.
It's all real. And that's what I love about it. You're 100% right. I think COVID is like, everyone has their own perception of everything in the world, and we've created a mindset. We've carved our own mindset towards positivity and optimism for our own struggles and hardship and our own pathway and getting to where we are now in our mind. Like, I see it as like lifts in in levels and a building, and you're moving up floors in your own brain. And the more hardship you have, the more you're able to move up a lift, as long as you can come out the other side of that struggle.
Sure.
And then that affords you other, things and opportunity and stuff, and how you see the world as well. And I think that's the way we see the world. I think this is probably in our history of our lifetimes, the greatest time for opportunity, for resetting, for finding ourselves, our pathways, our purpose.
Yeah.
We have a thing called the internet for anyone out there watching and listening, and it affords all the free education in the world. It affords all the free opportunity and networking in the world, regardless of your location. Obviously, some people in parts of the world, a lot of people do not have the connectivity, but that is getting better and improving. But I mean, the people that do, you know, you really need to dig deep inside yourself and find out, you know, what are your passions, what are you good at, what are you creative at. Really dig deep and really start and begin. And literally, I've trained myself to, when I'm having the worst days of anxiety and procrastination and everything, I'll just go and sit down at my desk push myself, just sit down for 5 seconds and write something on a piece of paper or type something in your computer. My brain's just been told you've started. 6 hours will go past and I will still be at that desk, right? Whereas for 2 hours before that moment, 3 hours, I was, you know, like trying not, moving around, trying not to, procrastinate, tell myself, whatever crap in my head. But the fact that I pushed myself for 3 seconds to sit down and just start, 6 hours later, I'm still there, and I've done so much, and I feel so much better than had I not done anything. And I think that's a really powerful thing to be able to do. It's very difficult to do, but it's a powerful thing. Trick your brain, basically. Just trick it. If that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I think, we see these motivational quotes, and there's one that's coming to my mind is just get started. And it's easy to just be like, oh, just get started. But it truly helps if you can just get started with something, anything. And not putting that perfection expectation on yourself where you're like, if I could just get started on this, like you said, just writing down a couple things. You didn't say, I'm going to write an entire business plan. You said, I'm just going to get started and write a couple things.
Yeah.
And then you were productive.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Tricking your brain. Because what we tend to do is aim for, I have to do all of that.
Yeah.
Which you do, but you need to start. Right?
Yeah.
So forget about all that and just start.
Yeah.
And then all of that will happen.
Yeah. I think it eventually gets done. You do have to start somewhere.
Yeah. But then when you don't start and you keep procrastinating, it builds and builds, and then you get worse and worse. And it's that cycle, isn't it? Here's a good question for you. I love this one. If you could go back in time and plant 3 whispers of wisdom into your younger self's ear, what advice would you give yourself and why?
I love that you keep capping me on my responses because I could talk about it all day. I love this question, especially when people say if you could whisper it to your younger self, because when I first was thinking about that, when you said that, I'm like, well, how young? But really, this applies to my whole entire younger self, even probably a year ago. But my advice is, and really to anyone that's watching, is learn to be the entrepreneur of your life. Get in tune with your own passion. And what I believe when you do that is you'll be energized and motivated like that. What did you say? You just need to trick your brain. You'll be motivated to push through anything that stands in the way. And sometimes the thing that stands in your way is yourself. And when you have that, it's always good to remember also that it's an evolving process. It's a process. But also I would tell yourself to keep questioning how it can be done better and ask why. So always constantly be curious about how things can be improved, or seek always to find out the why. And with that, don't be afraid to go against the majority to drive change. When going back to my experience in school, I was always afraid. I was kind of like you, where I was afraid to raise my hand. I was afraid to push the status quo, or just afraid to go against the majority. And I would tell myself now is don't be afraid to do that. But with that, be strategic about risks. And this includes like making strategic moves, but also understanding that nothing's guaranteed. We kind of talked about that when I said I had that picture perfect life. Nothing is guaranteed, but that would allow you to practice the ability to see long term and be agile with that, because the uncertainty will, if you think about uncertainty and know that nothing's guaranteed, you're able to be agile and adapt to change. And change is always going to happen. But always when thinking about these risks and going against the majority to drive change, you have to learn from your mistakes and failures. That's one thing I would tell my younger self for sure, is learn from those mistakes and failures rather than saying, I'm a failure or you. And I think at some point that's where I started to put that perfection expectation on me, is I didn't take the time. And I probably didn't have the maturity, as a teenager to learn from my mistakes and failures. I just put it in a bucket as I would label myself as those things, rather than thinking about what did I learn? What were the lessons and why? That was more than 3, but
That's great.
It just kind of snowballed into it.
It keeps growing and it keeps coming out of you, Jeni.
It's like something came up and I'm like, wait, but I would also say this.
But it's all great advice. I mean, it's so right, everything you're saying is amazing. And that's why we're doing this, is to share and impart our wisdom and our stories and our open, raw, trusted selves with anyone that's watching, so that we can help them.
Is there anything that you would want to say? 3 things though. Like, what are the 3 top things?
I have 300 things. Like you said, and it's great. Naomi says, get out of your own way. One of our previous role models. I love that. Get out of your own way. It's not that easy to do though. And my journey is quite, it's not unique, but it's different. And it's my own story and my own backstory and my own journey of trials and tribulations and everything else. But I agree with some of the stuff that you're saying around learning from your failures. Failure's an awful word. We're built up in a system and a society of how things are done, and that's it.
Yeah.
And we're taught that, and our education system is rubbish, in my opinion, and how it's designed. The curriculum, and it's no teacher's fault. No, it's a system, and it's very difficult to break down. But it is coming, and it's coming fast, and people need to upskill fast, and I don't think they realize it. And there's so much going on right now with tech and stuff. But COVID has slingshot the world quite fast as well. 5 years maybe. To where we had to go anyway. So it's good that people now, governments are starting to put a lot more money into upskilling and preparing people for what is ultimately coming faster than COVID would have allowed us to realize. And we would have been in a lot more trouble, I think, trust me, than if COVID had not come along and reared its ugly head and pushed us all to get online and learn how to work remotely and learn digital tools and skills and all this stuff. Honestly, I think we had a really rough ride coming down the line. So, again, that's me looking at COVID as a positive thing. And I know a lot of people are having the negative aspects and losing people, and it's very sad. But I think COVID as well is a big positive for us. But anyway, getting back on track, I think understanding yourself is one. Really digging deep and figuring out who you are and why you exist. And what you're good at. That for me took a long time because of anxiety and stuff. I didn't understand my best traits, and my best traits were literally helping and training and teaching people. And it was the bottom, and I mean rock bottom, of any job on the planet that I was ever going to do, was standing in front of people teaching. But here I am sitting on a camera.
The world is watching.
My biggest fear, and the world is watching. And it's taken literally, I've only got over this hurdle in the last, just before I started and launched I'm Role Model, was when I got over the hurdle of being on a camera like this. The stage thing, the anxiety to start off small, 1 to 2 people, building up to more people on stages. Okay, now I can do that. Then there was online classes. I started teaching online, doing that. Okay, now I can do that. But actually videoing yourself for some weird, I don't know what it is. I was just terrified of that forever until, maybe 6 months ago, where I started, when like Naomi helped me to really push me, get out of my own way and start this.
Yeah.
So thank you, Naomi, for that. Naomi was on the first couple of episodes of I'm a Role Model, and she really helped. And that got me started, right? Get started.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I don't care. It's weird.
I love it.
I
Yeah.
just don't care what anyone thinks, or I don't care what I think about it. It's helping people, and I'm doing it now. So there's no stopping me on to the next thing. What's the next big hurdle that's going to get my way or barrier that I'm terrified of? And to be honest, I think I've overcome most of them at this stage. And now everything is kind of that plateau where you've got over all this crap. Now you're on your starting blocks. You're a runner and you're ready to go. You're waiting for the gun to fire. And I think that's where I'm at now. I've done all of that. The swan's legs under the water. Now I'm here and I'm ready. The word is my oyster, or whatever the saying is. And I'm ready. And I'm just waiting to make it mine and do whatever I can to help other people. And that's literally where I feel I'm at now. My confidence is beyond where it's ever been, ever. And I'm believing in myself and just, I can do this, and let's just make it happen. And I'm like, give me your money. Give it to me so I can do it and prove it, right? Just give me the money.
Yeah. What I love that you just said about that is you said you had this fear, and one of the guests on I'm a Role Model helped you through the fear while you were helping her tell her story. And to me, that's community, is when it's people coming together and we mutually benefit one another. And we're all okay admitting that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As long as it's for the better good. I think there's people who do that for other reasons, alternative motives. And I think you say is it's transparent. You know what you're getting out of it. I know what I'm getting out of it. We're both happy with that agreement. And we're also helping people in the process. 100% brilliant. Jeni, it's 9:15. We've been rocking for like an hour.
No. Oh my goodness.
Thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed chatting to you. It's been an honor and a pleasure. You've just helped maybe thousands, hopefully millions of women in the future whenever we make it and we're huge and all that. And hopefully we will be, because that's where we want to be, to help people. As I said to you earlier, BuzzStart will be launching, or hopefully launching, our talent program that I've designed and developed. It's a 12-week digital entrepreneur leadership training program. It's very hands-on, practical learning, targeted at women completely. Hopefully they start in Manchester and Lancashire in the UK in early November. And it's really the idea of it is designed to fast track them into full-time employment. But I've designed it in a way that it won't just give them the employability skills, it will give them transferable skills, soft skills, innovation skills, entrepreneurship skills, remote working skills, technology, all of these skills that they can literally take and then carve out and make whatever it is. And also actually is help them through the program define their purpose, their pathway, and start to get on to their North Star and figure out where they need to be. So that's what it's all about. But I would love it if you would come on and help in some way with that, in regards to, if you can, in any shape or form. We have Innovation Fridays. I've built it in the program. So every Friday morning, we will have Innovation Friday, where we will do design thinking first thing in the morning. Around the social cause. So we'll reach out to the local community. We'll try and figure out challenges. We'll come up with some ideas. We'll do brainstorming. We'll do design thinking. We'll collectively, as a group of 50 women, facilitate it by ourselves, decide on what is the best cause that we've come up with. And then over the process of the next 12 weeks, every Friday, and the interim as well, they will work on that particular problem whilst they're learning everything else. And they will start to develop out this business to help the local community and whatever that might look like.
I love it.
And in that process, they're getting all of the skill sets. They're networking into the community. They're outreaching to employers because they want to get employed. Everything's kind of in the box to make their job, their life easier, their future easier.
It's amazing.
So that's the idea, and it's reaching out through this and all my other kind of networks to people amazing like yourself. and say, are you up for getting involved? Maybe coming off for a chat someday or whatever that looks like, and just kind of giving them your knowledge, your experience. Maybe we'll come up with a challenge on Thursday or Wednesday, and then I'll send you a message and say, Jenny, here's the challenge we've come up with. Are you free on Friday to come on and chat to the women? And we'll try and figure out how to fix this or do this. Or that's the idea. I mean, we haven't got there, but that's what I'm thinking and how it's going to work. So yeah,
I love it.
Yeah,
I love
cool.
it.
Nice.
Yeah, I love everything you're doing, Patrick. If I can help or assist in any way, of course, let me know. But today was amazing. I really thank you for this opportunity to do this.
You're very welcome. No problem at all. So thank you. And may God bless you. And there's a great Irish proverb, as I told you before, may the wind be always at your back,
Yes,
Jenny.
I love it.
Let's pick up again next week. Have a Zoom, have a chat. See where we're at. I should know next week while this program's going ahead. It's going ahead, but it's just how long is a piece of string. But hopefully it'll go ahead next month, and then we can make the magic happen. So
for sure.
Nice one. But listen, enjoy your. What time is it there? It's
almost 4:30.
Oh, it's still early enough. It's nice and dark and cold here. So
I bet.
The sun is shining there.
I still miss it though.
You're crazy.
Good. Thank you so much for this, Patrick.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Speak to you soon. Bye. Bye.